Can you be my daddy?" The 6-year-old girl stood barefoot in the rain, blood trickling from her lip. A sock doll clutched to her chest. Marcus Cole. 48 years old, 22 years, wearing Hell's Angels colors, had faced bullets. Federal agents, men who wanted him dead. None of it prepared him for this. "Please, mister. The bad men are coming. They took my friend Diego. They said little girls like me fetch good prices." Her voice cracked. "I'll be good. I won't eat much. Just don't let them take me." 24 hours later, 250 Hell's Angels would ride to war for her. Marcus Cole had seen a lot in 48 years of living. 22 of those years wearing Hell's Angels colors. He'd faced down federal agents who wanted him in prison. He'd stood toe-to-toe with rival clubs who wanted him dead. He'd taken 2 bullets in a bar fight outside Tucson and walked himself to the hospital. Nothing prepared him for this. The little girl couldn't have been more than 6 years old, maybe less. Hard to tell with kids who'd been living rough. Her hair was matted, tangled into knots that probably hurt. Her dress might have been pink once, but now it was gray with dirt and something darker that might have been dried blood. Her feet were bare, the soles black with street grime, and she was shaking so hard he could see it from 3 feet away. But it was her eyes that got him. Those eyes had seen things no child should ever see. They were old eyes in a young face. Eyes that expected rejection, expected pain, expected to be told to get lost. And still she asked, "Can you be my father?" Marcus didn't move, didn't speak. His brain was still trying to process what was happening. The little girl's lower lip trembled. "I'll be good," she said again, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can clean. I cleaned at my foster house. I know how to be quiet. I won't make trouble, I promise." "Kid," Marcus started, but she cut him off. "Please, mister, the bad men are coming. They took Diego. They said they're coming back for me tonight." Her voice cracked. "I don't want to go with them. Please, I'll do anything." Marcus felt something shift in his chest, something he'd buried a long time ago. He crouched down slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. The girl flinched, but didn't run. "What bad men?" he asked, keeping his voice soft. "Who's coming for you?" "The van men. They have a white van. They take kids." She hugged her sock doll tighter. "Diego said if bad men ever came, run to the bikers. He said the bikers scare everyone, even monsters." Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd heard rumors. Homeless kids disappearing from the streets over the past few months. Most people didn't notice, didn't care. Street kids were invisible to the world, but not to predators. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily, like the flower. My mommy named me before she went to sleep forever." Marcus's heart clenched. "How long ago did your mommy go to sleep, Lily?" "I don't know. I was 3. That's what Miss Patterson said. She was my second foster mom. She was nice? The others weren't nice. 3 years old. This child had been alone essentially since she was 3 years old. Bouncing through a system that was supposed to protect her, failed by people who were paid to care. "Where's your foster family now, Lily?" The girl's face changed. Fear flickered across it, followed by something harder. Something that looked like survival instinct. "I ran away. Mr. Gerald he was bad. He touched my hair strange. He said I was his special girl." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I didn't want to be special." Marcus felt rage building in his chest. The kind of rage that had gotten him into trouble before. The kind that made him do things that ended with other men in hospitals. "How long have you been on the street, Lily?" "I don't know. A long time. I sleep behind the Sunshine Diner. Miss Rosa leaves food for me sometimes. She's nice. But she didn't come yesterday or today, and the van men found where I sleep." Marcus made a decision. He didn't think about it, didn't analyze it, didn't consider the complications. He just acted. "Come inside, Lily." Her eyes went wide. "Really? Really? Nobody's gonna hurt you in here." He stood up and held out his hand. She stared at it like she'd never seen an outstretched hand before. Like kindness was a foreign language she'd forgotten how to speak. Then slowly she reached out and put her tiny hand in his massive one. Her fingers were cold, thin, fragile, like bird bones. Marcus felt them trembling against his palm, and something inside him that he thought had died a long time ago suddenly came roaring back to life. He led her inside the clubhouse. The Hells Angels, Cedar Falls chapter, had owned this building for 37 years. It had seen parties that lasted 3 days, fights that ended in blood meetings that decided the fate of entire criminal enterprises. The walls were covered with photos patches from fallen brothers, trophies from rides across the country. Today, all of that faded into background noise. Iron. What the hell? That was Demon sitting at the bar nursing a beer. His real name was Pete Washburn, but nobody had called him Pete since 1987. He was 6'4", 260 pounds, with a beard that reached his chest and tattoos covering every visible inch of skin. He looked terrifying. Lily pressed against Marcus's leg and whimpered. "Easy, brother," Marcus said. "She's scared enough already." Demon's expression shifted from confusion to concern as he really looked at the child. Saw the bruise, the dirt, the fear. "Jesus Christ," he breathed. "Where'd she come from?" "Found her outside. She's in trouble." "What kind of trouble?" Marcus met Demon's eyes. His voice went flat, cold. "The kind that makes kids disappear." Demon's face changed. His hand curled into a fist on the bar top. "You don't mean—" "Yeah, I do. Son of a bitch." Roadkill came in from the back room. 54 years old, gray-beard grandfather of 6. He stopped dead when he saw Lily. "Marcus, who's this?" "Her name's Lily. She needs help." "She needs a bath and a meal by the look of it." Roadkill crouched down, his knees popping. He smiled gently at the girl. "Hey there, little one. You hungry?" Lily nodded, but didn't speak. "You like grilled cheese?" Another nod. "Demon, get the girl a grilled cheese and some milk. You got milk back there?" "Yeah, I think so." "Make it chocolate milk." Lily's eyes widened. "Chocolate milk?" Roadkill smiled. "You like chocolate milk?" "I never had it." The 3 bikers exchanged looks. The weight of that simple sentence hit them all. 6 years old, and she'd never had chocolate milk. "Well," Roadkill said, his voice rougher than before, "today you're gonna have some. Okay." Lily nodded. She was still clutching her sock doll, still pressed against Marcus's leg, but some of the tension had left her tiny shoulders. Marcus led her to a booth in the corner. She sat down slowly, like she expected the seat to be yanked away from under her. He slid in across from her. "Lily, I need you to tell me about the van men. Everything you can remember. Are you gonna make them go away? I'm gonna try." She nodded solemnly. Then she started talking. "They started coming around a couple months ago. There were 2 of them at first. They had a white van with no windows in the back. They said they were from the church. They said they wanted to help the homeless kids. They gave out sandwiches and juice boxes." Marcus listened, his expression carefully neutral, even as his stomach turned. But then kids started disappearing. Maria went first. She was 12. She said she was going with the church people to get new clothes. She never came back. Lily's voice trembled. Then Tommy, then Lucy, then Diego. Diego was your friend. He was my best friend. He was 10. He looked out for me. He taught me where to find food, where to sleep, which grown-ups were safe. He said we were like family because we didn't have real families. What happened to Diego? Lily's face crumpled. 3 nights ago, the van men came, but this time there were more of them. 4. Diego tried to run, but they caught him. I was hiding behind the dumpster. Diego didn't tell them about me. He let them take him so they wouldn't find me. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her dirty cheeks. He saved you, Marcus said quietly. And now the bad men took him. And it's my fault. No, Lily, none of this is your fault. But I should have helped him. I should have done something. You're 6 years old. What could you have done? I don't know. Something? Anything. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Now they know I exist. They saw me yesterday, 2 of them. They chased me, but I squeezed through a fence they couldn't fit through. One of them yelled that they'd be back. He said... She stopped, her whole body shaking. What did he say, Lily? Her voice dropped to a whisper. He said little girls like me fetch good prices. Marcus's blood went cold, then hot, then cold again. Demon arrived with the grilled cheese and chocolate milk. He set them down gently in front of Lily. There you go, sweetheart. You eat up. Lily stared at the food like it might be a trap. It's okay, Marcus said. It's yours. You can eat it. She reached out hesitantly, picked up the sandwich, and took a tiny bite. Then another. Then she was eating like she hadn't seen food in days, which Marcus realized she probably hadn't. He waited until she'd finished half the sandwich and drunk most of the milk. Then he leaned forward. Lily, I need to make some phone calls. I need to talk to my friends about how we can help you. Will you be okay here with Roadkill and Demon for a few minutes? She looked panicked. You're leaving. Just to the other room. I'll be right through that door. I won't be gone long. I promise. Promise. I promise. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. Marcus stood up and walked to the back office. He closed the door, pulled out his phone, and dialed a number he knew by heart. It rang twice before a gravelly voice answered. Yeah. Grizzly, it's Iron. We got a situation. What kind of situation? There's a little girl here, 6 years old, homeless. Someone's been snatching kids off the street, human trafficking from the sound of it. They're coming for her tonight. Silence on the line. Marcus could hear Grizzly breathing, processing. You're sure about this? The kid's got bruises, hasn't eaten in days, and she just described a trafficking operation that matches the missing kids reports we've been hearing about. Yeah, I'm sure. Where'd she come from? She showed up at the clubhouse, asked me to be her father. She what? She asked me to be her father, Grizz. She said she'd be good, she wouldn't eat much, she'd clean and be quiet. She's 6 years old and she's trying to negotiate her survival like she's closing a business deal. More silence. Then, what do you want to do about it? Marcus thought about the question. He'd been asked that question many times in his life. Usually the answer involved violence or money or power, something the club could provide, something that fit neatly into the world they operated in. This was different. I want to keep her safe, he said finally. I want to find the bastards who've been taking kids and make sure they never take another one. And then... He stopped. Then what? She doesn't have anyone, Grizz. No family, no home, no one looking out for her. The system failed her. The world failed her. If we don't help her, nobody will. You thinking about taking her in? Marcus hadn't let himself think about it explicitly until that moment. But now that the question was out there, the answer came immediately. Yeah, I am. You know that's complicated as hell. Your record, the club, the lifestyle. I know. CPS won't make it easy. I know. You never wanted kids. You told me that yourself after Maria left. I know. Marcus closed his eyes. But this kid showed up on our doorstep asking for a father, Grizz. She didn't go to the cops, didn't go to social services, didn't go to a church or a shelter. She came to us. She came to me. That means something. Grizzly was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Softer. I'm calling a church meeting. 1 hour. Every brother who can make it. We need to hear this from the girl herself and figure out our next move. Thanks, Grizz. And Marcus, don't let that kid out of your sight. I won't. He hung up and stood there for a moment, staring at the phone in his hand. Then he walked back out to the main room. Lily had finished her sandwich and milk. She was sitting perfectly still in the booth, her sock doll on the table in front of her, watching the door with terrified eyes. When she saw Marcus, her whole face changed. Relief flooded her features. You came back. I told you I would. People say that. They don't always mean it. Marcus slid into the booth across from her. I mean it. When I say something, I mean it. You understand? She nodded slowly. Good. Now I called my friends. They're going to come here, and we're going to figure out how to help you. How to find the bad men and stop them. How to find Diego and the other kids they took. You can do that. We're going to try. What if they're too strong? Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Lily, do you know what the Hell's Angels are? Diego said you're the scariest people in town. He said even the police are scared of you sometimes. He wasn't wrong. We've been around for a long time. We've dealt with a lot of bad people. The men who took Diego, the men who are coming for you, they think they're scary. They think they're powerful. They think nobody can touch them. He leaned forward. They've never met us. Lily looked at him with those old, knowing eyes. You really think you can stop them? I know we can. How? Because we're not just one person, Lily. We're a family, a brotherhood. When one of us fights, we all fight. When one of us is threatened, we all respond. And when someone hurts a child in our territory, his voice went flat. They answer to every single one of us. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Am I in your territory? You are now. Something shifted in her face. A tiny crack in the armor she'd built around herself. You mean it? I mean it. She picked up her sock doll and held it close. Her name is Hope, she said quietly. My mommy made her for me. She's all I have left of her. She's beautiful. She's falling apart. I've had to fix her lots of times. That's what you do with the things you love. You fix them when they break. Lily looked up at him. Can broken people be fixed too? The question hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. He thought about his own life, the mistakes he'd made, the people he'd hurt, the pieces of himself he'd lost along the way. Yeah, Lily, broken people can be fixed. It just takes time, and the right people to help. Are you broken? In some ways. Did someone fix you? Marcus thought about the club, about the brothers who'd pulled him out of dark places more times than he could count, about the sense of belonging that had given him purpose when he had none. Yeah, someone did. A lot of someones. Maybe, she hesitated, looking down at her doll. Maybe we could fix each other. Marcus felt that thing in his chest shift again. That thing he'd thought was dead. It wasn't dead. It was just waiting. Waiting for something worth coming back for. Yeah, Lily. Maybe we could. The front door burst open. Both of them jumped Lily, letting out a small scream. But it was just Torch, another brother looking frantic. Iron Grizzly just called me. He said there's a kid that something's going down. What the hell is... He stopped when he saw Lily. His face went through the same transformation Marcus had seen on every brother so far. Confusion, concern, then protective rage. Is this her? Yeah. Christ, she's tiny. Torch, keep your voice down. You're scaring her. Torch immediately softened. He crouched down, making himself smaller. Hey, little one. Sorry for barging in like that. I didn't mean to scare you. Lily was pressed against Marcus's side, trembling, but she looked at Torch and said in a tiny voice, "It's okay. I get scared a lot." Torch's face crumpled. He looked at Marcus with an expression that said everything. Over the next hour they arrived. One by one, then in groups. The roar of motorcycles becoming a constant presence outside. Brothers Marcus had known for decades men who'd stood beside him through everything filling the clubhouse with leather and chrome and barely contained fury. Because word had spread. The child. The trafficking ring. The threat. And every single one of them wanted blood. Grizzly arrived last. He was 58 years old, a Vietnam veteran with a gray beard and eyes that had seen too much. He'd been president of the Cedar Falls chapter for 15 years. His word was law. He walked straight to the booth where Marcus sat with Lily. The little girl pressed closer to Marcus's side, intimidated by the huge man looming over her. Grizzly crouched down slowly. His knees cracked, and he grimaced slightly, but he didn't stop until he was at her eye level. "So you're Lily," he said. She nodded, not trusting her voice. "I'm Grizzly. I know I look scary, but I promise I'm not. I have grandchildren just a little older than you. Their names are Emma and Jake. They call me Gramps." Lily's death grip on Marcus's arm loosened slightly. "You're a grandpa." "I am. And one thing grandpas are really good at is protecting their family." "I don't have a family." "You do now." Lily looked at Marcus, then back at Grizzly. "Really? Really? You see all these men?" Grizzly gestured at the crowded clubhouse. "Every single one of them is here because of you, because they heard a little girl was in trouble and they wanted to help. That's what family does." Lily's lower lip trembled. "But you don't even know me." "Doesn't matter. You asked for help. You asked for protection. You came to us when you had nowhere else to go. That makes you ours now, and we take care of what's ours." 47 men stood in that clubhouse. 47 hardened bikers with criminal records and violent pasts, and enough collective muscle to start a small war. And every single one of them was dead silent, watching this old man make a promise to a 6-year-old girl. Marcus felt Lily's hand find his under the table. Her tiny fingers wrapped around his, holding on, like he was the only solid thing in a world that kept falling apart. He squeezed gently. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Grizzly stood up and turned to face the room. His voice carried without him needing to raise it. "Church meeting. Now. Everyone. Iron, you stay here with the girl. Grizz, I should be in there. No, she needs you more. Roadkill demon stay as well. Everyone else chapel. Now." The brothers filed toward the back room. Marcus caught snippets of conversation as they passed. "Can't believe someone would find those bastards and—" "Little thing, how could anyone?" The door closed behind them, and the clubhouse fell quiet. Marcus looked down at Lily. She was still holding his hand, still clutching Hope the sock doll, still watching the world with those ancient, wounded eyes. "What are they going to talk about?" she asked. "How to help you? How to find Diego and the other kids? How to stop the bad men?" "Can they really do it? Lily, those men in that room have done things most people can't imagine. They've survived things most people couldn't survive. They're not perfect. They've made mistakes, but when it comes to protecting people they care about, there's nothing they won't do." And they care about me. They just met me. Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes you meet someone and you just know they're supposed to be in your life. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's how I felt when I saw you." Marcus's throat tightened. Yeah, I was so scared to come here. Diego always said bikers were scary but good. I didn't know if he was right. But then I saw you standing at the door, and something inside me said, "That one. Ask that one." So I did. I'm glad you did. Me too. She paused. Marcus, can I ask you something? Anything. When this is all over, when you stop the bad men and find Diego, will you still want me around? It was such a simple question. Such a devastating question. Because it revealed everything about this child's life. The constant abandonment. The temporary connections that never lasted. The fear that every good thing would eventually disappear. Marcus turned to face her fully. He took both her small hands in his. Lily, listen to me. I'm not going anywhere. Not after this is over, not ever. I know you have no reason to believe me. I know everyone in your life has let you down. But I'm making you a promise right now, and I don't break my promises. You understand? She searched his face, looking for the lie, looking for the catch. You mean it? I mean it. Even if I'm scared sometimes, even if I have nightmares, even if I'm too much trouble. Even then, especially then. Why? Why? The hardest question. The most honest one. Marcus thought about it. Really thought. Why would he, a 48-year-old biker with a criminal record and no experience with children, want to take in a traumatized 6-year-old? Because when I was 23 years old, he said slowly, I was alone too. Different circumstances, but the same feeling. Like nobody in the world gave a damn whether I lived or died. And then someone gave a damn. Someone reached out and said, "You're one of us now." It saved my life, Lily. It gave me a family when I had none. And I've spent the last 25 years trying to be worthy of that. He squeezed her hands. Now it's my turn. To reach out. To say you're one of us now. To give you what someone gave me. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You want me for real. For real. Even though I'm dirty and scared and I don't know how to be a regular kid. Even though. You'll really be my... She couldn't finish the sentence. Like saying it out loud might break the spell. Your father, Marcus said, finishing it for her. If you'll have me. The tears spilled over. Lily launched herself across the booth and threw her arms around his neck. She was so small, so fragile. He could feel every bone, every tremor, every sob that shook her tiny frame. But she held on like she'd never let go, and Marcus held on right back. I'll be good, she whispered against his neck. I promise I'll be good. You already are good, Lily. You're the bravest person I've ever met. I'm not brave. I'm scared all the time. That's what brave means. Being scared but doing the hard thing anyway. Coming here asking for help that took guts. More guts than most adults have. She pulled back, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Diego was brave too. He let them take him so they wouldn't find me. We're going to find Diego. I promise. You promise a lot of things. And I keep all of them. The chapel door opened. Grizzly emerged, his face set in hard lines. Behind him, Marcus could see the brothers still seated, their expressions grim. Iron, we need to talk. What's the plan? Grizzly glanced at Lily. Not here. Let the girl rest. Roadkill take her to the back room. Let her sleep on the couch. Marcus felt Lily tense against him. It's okay, he said softly. I'll be right in the next room. Roadkill will stay with you. He's got 6 grandkids. He's the safest person here for you. You promise you'll come back? I promise. Roadkill approached with a gentle smile. Come on, little one. Let's get you somewhere comfortable. You like cartoons. We got a TV back there. Might have some old Disney movies. Lily looked at Marcus one more time. He nodded. She slid off the booth and took Roadkill's offered hand, letting him lead her to the back. At the doorway, she turned. Marcus, thank you for not telling me to go away. Then she disappeared into the back room. Marcus stood there for a moment, watching the empty doorway. Then he turned to Grizzly. What did you find out? Grizzly's expression darkened. More than we wanted to know. We got brothers making calls, pulling in favors, digging into everything that little girl told us, and Iron. He paused, shaking his head. It's worse than we thought. Much worse. How much worse? There's 8 kids being held in a warehouse south of town. Sale happening in 72 hours. And the man running this operation, he's got connections. A dirty cop feeding him information, a judge in his pocket ties that go higher than anyone suspected. Who is he? Goes by the Collector. Real name's Victor Marsh, former CPS supervisor. Marcus felt ice spread through his veins. CPS. The system that was supposed to protect these kids. Exactly. He was fired 6 years ago for irregularities. Turned out he'd been flagging vulnerable children and making them disappear from the system. He's been running this operation ever since. 8 kids confirmed missing across 3 counties in 18 months. Probably more that we don't know about. And no one stopped him. No one could touch him. He knows which cops to pay, which judges to blackmail, which politicians to donate to. He's built himself a perfect shield. Grizzly's voice went flat. Until now. What's the plan? Grizzly looked at him with eyes that had seen war, that had made life and death decisions in jungles halfway around the world. We're going to burn it all down, Iron. Every piece of his network. Every protection he's built. Every monster who works for him. We're going to burn it all down, rescue those kids, and make sure Victor Marsh never hurts another child again. Tomorrow, we can't wait. Those kids don't have time, and neither does Lily. Marsh will know she's here soon enough. When he does, he'll come for her. We need to hit him before he can. Marcus nodded. I'm in. Whatever you need. I know you are. But Iron... Grizzly put a hand on his shoulder. You understand what this means? If we do this, there's no going back. We're declaring war on people with a lot of power. Things could go sideways in ways we can't predict. I don't care. I know you don't. That's what worries me. Grizzly's grip tightened. That little girl in there, she's already lost everyone. If something happens to you, nothing's going to happen to me. You don't know that. Then I'll make sure it doesn't. Because you're right. She's already lost everyone. I won't be another person who disappears from her life. I won't be another broken promise. Marcus's voice hardened. Whatever it takes, Grizz. Whatever we have to do, I'm coming back to her. Grizzly studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I believe you. And God help anyone who tries to stop you. The chapel door opened, and brothers started filing out. Their faces were grim, determined, ready for war. But one of them, Torch, stopped beside Marcus. Hey, Iron, that kid in there, she's special. You can see it in her eyes. I know. She asked you to be her father. Yeah. You gonna do it? Marcus looked toward the back room. He couldn't see Lily, but he could feel her presence. Feel the connection that had formed in just a few hours. Feel the responsibility settling onto his shoulders like a weight he'd been waiting his whole life to carry. Yeah, he said. I am. Torch clapped him on the shoulder. Then tomorrow when we ride, we're not just fighting for those kids in the warehouse. We're fighting for her. For your daughter. And brother. He grinned, and it was fierce, protective, almost savage. Nobody messes with a Hell's Angels kid. Marcus looked around the room, at the brothers preparing for battle, at the weapons being checked, the plans being made, the fury building like a storm about to break. Tomorrow, 250 Hell's Angels would ride. Tomorrow they would face an enemy who had terrorized the invisible, preyed on the forgotten, built an empire on the suffering of children. Tomorrow they would show Victor Marsh what happened when you threatened the wrong family. But tonight, there was a 6-year-old girl in the back room who needed to know she wasn't alone, who needed to feel safe, maybe for the first time in her life. Marcus walked toward the back room. He had a daughter to check on. Marcus found Lily curled up on the old leather couch, her sock doll pressed against her chest. She wasn't sleeping. Her eyes were wide open, staring at the ceiling, and when he walked in, she sat up so fast she nearly fell off. "You came back." "Told you I would." She scooted over to make room for him. He sat down beside her, and within seconds she had pressed herself against his side like she was trying to disappear into his shadow. "I heard motorcycles," she whispered. "Lots of them." "That's our brothers arriving. More of them." "How many?" "Enough." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Are they angry?" "Not at you, never at you." "But they're angry." Marcus thought about how to explain it. The cold fury he'd seen in the chapel. The way grown men had gone pale with rage when they heard what was happening to children in their town. "Yeah, Lily, they're angry. When good people find out that bad things are happening to kids, they get angry. It means they care." Diego said anger was dangerous. He said angry people do stupid things. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes anger is what makes you brave enough to fight. The trick is controlling it, using it, not letting it use you. Lily considered this. "Are you angry?" "Very." "But you're not being stupid." Marcus almost smiled. "I'm trying not to be." She reached up and touched his face, her tiny fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "You look different when you're angry. Your eyes get darker." "Is that scary?" "No." She shook her head. "It makes me feel safe. Because your angry eyes aren't looking at me. They're looking at the bad people, like you're protecting me even when you're not trying." Something cracked in Marcus's chest. This child, this tiny, broken, brilliant child who saw things no one her age should understand. "I will always protect you, Lily. Always." "Promise, promise." She leaned her head against his arm. "I'm tired, but I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see the van. I see Diego's face when they grabbed him. I hear him yelling at me to run." "You don't have to sleep. You can just rest." "Will you stay?" "I'm not going anywhere." They sat there in silence for a while. Marcus could hear the rumble of voices from the main room, the occasional burst of raised voices, the sound of more motorcycles arriving. The club was mobilizing. By morning, they'd have enough men to wage a small war. And that's exactly what they were going to do. "Marcus." Lily's voice was drowsy now, despite her claim that she couldn't sleep. "What happens if the bad men win?" "They won't." "But what if they do?" He looked down at her. Her eyes were half closed, her grip on hope, the sock doll loosening as exhaustion finally began to claim her. "Then we lose fighting," he said quietly. "But we don't stop. We never stop. Even if we fall, other people stand up. That's how good wins, Lily. Not because we're stronger, but because we don't give up. That's what my mommy said before she went to sleep." Lily's voice was barely a whisper now. She said good people don't give up. She said I had to be good and never give up. Even when it was hard. Your mommy was right. I miss her. I know, sweetheart. I know. Her breathing slowed. Her body relaxed against his. And finally, for the first time in God knows how long, Lily fell asleep, feeling safe. Marcus didn't move. He barely breathed. He just sat there holding this child who had somehow become the center of his universe in less than a day, and he made a silent vow. Whatever it takes, whatever I have to become, whatever I have to do, I will protect her. The door opened softly. Grizzly stepped in, took one look at the sleeping child, and gestured for Marcus to stay put. He crossed the room quietly and crouched beside the couch. How is she? Exhausted, traumatized, but tough as hell. She'd have to be surviving what she's survived. Grizzly's voice was barely audible. We got more intel. Pixel's been working his magic. Pixel's here. Got in 20 minutes ago. He's already hacked into half the county's systems. You're not going to believe what he found? Tell me. Victor Marsh isn't just running a local operation. He's connected to a network that spans 4 states. Kids are being moved through a pipeline. Cedar Falls is just one stop. He's got buyers lined up from here to the coast. Marcus felt his stomach turn. How many kids? Pixel's still digging, but he's already confirmed at least 37 over the past 2 years. Most of them. Grizzly stopped, his jaw tightening. Most of them are never seen again. Jesus Christ. It gets worse. The dirty cop Sergeant Dale Peters. He's been tipping Marsh off about investigations for years. Every time someone got close, Peters made the evidence disappear. And the judge in Marsh's pocket, he's been signing custody orders making kids wards of the state so they can be placed with Marsh's people. The whole system is compromised. Exactly. We can't go to local authorities. They're either bought or outmanned. FBI's our best bet, but by the time they mobilize those kids in the warehouse, we'll be gone. Marcus looked down at Lily, still sleeping against his side. So we do this ourselves. That's what I came to talk to you about. Grizzly pulled a chair closer and sat down heavily. We've got a plan. Pixels mapped the warehouse, identified entry points, estimated guard numbers. We're looking at maybe 15 armed men protecting the place. And we have, by morning, 250 brothers. I called in markers from every chapter in a 3-state radius. They're riding through the night. Cedar Falls hasn't seen this many Hells Angels since the 90s. What's the timeline? We hit them at dawn, before they expect it, before they can move the kids. 3 teams. Main force creates a distraction, draws out the guards. Extraction team goes in the back, gets the kids out. 3rd team blocks all exits, catches anyone trying to run. What about Marsh? He'll be there. Pixel intercepted communications. Marsh is personally overseeing this sale. He wants to make sure nothing goes wrong. Grizzly's smile was cold. Something's about to go very wrong. And the dirty cop Peters. Demons tracking him. We can't let him tip off Marsh. Marcus nodded slowly. What do you need from me? I need you leading the extraction team. You've got special forces training. You know how to get in and out of hostile situations. And frankly, Grizzly glanced at Lily, you've got more reason than anyone to make sure those kids come out safe. What about Lily? I can't leave her here alone. Roadkill's wife is coming. Betty, you remember her. The one who fed half the homeless population last winter. That's her. She'll stay here with Lily. Keep her safe while we handle business. Marcus thought about it. He didn't like leaving Lily even with someone as trustworthy as Betty. But those other kids, Diego, and 7 others, they were in that warehouse right now. Scared. Alone. Waiting to be sold like cattle. Okay, I'm in. There's one more thing. Grizzly's expression grew serious. This operation, if it goes sideways, there's gonna be consequences. Legal ones. We're not exactly operating within the law here. I know. I need you to understand what you're risking. Not just your freedom. Your chance at adopting Lily, at giving her a real home. If you end up in prison, then at least she'll know someone fought for her. Someone stood up when everyone else looked away. Marcus's jaw set. I spent 20 years taking risks for money, for power, for club business. This is the first time I'm risking something for a reason that actually matters. Grizzly studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. That's what I thought you'd say. That's why I wanted you leading the extraction. When do we brief the teams? 4 a.m. That gives everyone a few hours to rest. You should sleep too if you can. I'll stay with her. She wakes up alone, she'll panic. Understood. Grizzly stood his knees, popping. Marcus, what you're doing taking in this child. It's the most important thing any of us will ever do. You know that, right? I'm starting to. Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow's gonna be hell. Grizzly left, closing the door softly behind him. Marcus leaned his head back against the couch. He should sleep. He knew that. The operation tomorrow would require every bit of focus and energy he had. But his mind wouldn't stop. He kept thinking about the 37 kids Pixel had found. 37 children who had vanished into Marsh's network. 37 families destroyed. 37 lives that might have been saved if someone had paid attention sooner. And he kept thinking about Lily. About the courage it had taken for her to walk up to that clubhouse. About the desperation that had driven her to ask a stranger to be her father. She shifted in her sleep, murmuring something he couldn't make out. Her hand found his and held on tight, even unconscious. Marcus closed his eyes. Whatever it takes. He must have slept because the next thing he knew, someone was shaking his shoulder. Iron, it's time. He blinked awake. Torch was standing over him, his face grim. What time is it? 3:45. Briefing starts in 15 minutes. Marcus looked down. Lily was still asleep, still holding his hand. He gently extracted himself, careful not to wake her. Betty here. Just arrived. She's in the main room. Give me a minute. Torch nodded and left. Marcus crouched beside the couch. He brushed a strand of hair from Lily's face, his touch feather light. I have to go, he whispered, though she couldn't hear him. But I'll be back, I promise. I promise Lily. He stood, took one last look at the sleeping child, and walked out of the room. The main room of the clubhouse had transformed overnight. What had been a space for drinking and socializing was now a war room. Maps spread across tables, men clustered in groups checking weapons, reviewing plans. The air hummed with tension. Grizzly stood at the front, flanked by chapter presidents from 3 different cities. Behind him, a massive screen showed a satellite image of the warehouse courtesy of Pixel's hacking. Listen up, Grizzly's voice cut through the noise. In 2 hours we ride. Every one of you knows why we're here. 8 children are being held in that warehouse. They're scheduled to be sold tomorrow. That's not going to happen. He pointed at the screen. Warehouse is located here, industrial district south of town. Pixels identified 3 entry points. Main entrance here, loading dock here, and a service door on the east side. We estimate 15 to 20 armed guards. What's the split? Someone called out. Main force 100 men. You'll approach from the north. Make noise, draw attention. Let them think it's a full assault. Extraction team 15 men goes in through the service door. Your only job is getting those kids out alive. Third team 30 men surrounds the perimeter. No one leaves. What about cops? Sergeant Peters is the main threat. Demons handling him. Anyone else shows up, we deal with them. But remember, we're not here to fight law enforcement. We're here to rescue children. If badges arrive, we cooperate. We explain, we let Pixel's evidence do the talking. What evidence? Grizzly smiled grimly. Pixel sent everything to the FBI, State Attorney General, and 3 news networks at midnight. By the time the sun comes up, Victor Marsh's empire will be burning. Our job is to get those kids out before he can use them as leverage. Marcus stepped forward. Extraction team, listen up. We move fast, we move quiet. Primary objective is the children. We secure them, we get them out, we hand them off to the medical team we've got waiting. If we encounter resistance, we neutralize it. But those kids are scared enough already. We don't add to their trauma. What if Marsh is inside? He is. Pixel confirmed it. Marcus's voice went flat. If I find him, I'll deal with him. Personally. A murmur of approval ran through the room. Final check, Grizzly called. Teams confirm readiness. We roll in 90 minutes. The room exploded into controlled chaos. Men checking equipment, confirming positions, making final calls to loved ones. Marcus watched them, these brothers he'd known for years, and felt a surge of pride. They weren't perfect. None of them were. They'd made mistakes. Broken laws hurt people who probably didn't deserve it. But right now, at this moment, they were about to do something that mattered, something that would make a difference. A hand on his shoulder. He turned. It was Demon, looking uncharacteristically serious. Peters is at his house. I've got 2 brothers watching him. The second we move on the warehouse, they'll make sure he can't make any calls. Don't hurt him unless you have to. We want him alive for the FBI. Understood. Demon hesitated. Iron. That little girl. She really asked you to be her dad. Yeah. You gonna do it, if she'll still have me after all this. Demon grinned. Hell, brother. After tonight, you'll be a goddamn hero. She'll be lucky to have you. Other way around? Yeah. Demon's grin faded. Yeah, it is. Take care of yourself out there. That kid needs you to come back. Marcus nodded. Demon walked away, and Marcus was alone with his thoughts. 90 minutes. He walked back to the room where Lily slept. Betty was there now, a plump woman in her 60s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She'd raised 5 kids and helped raise a dozen more. If anyone could keep Lily calm while Marcus was gone, it was her. How is she? He asked quietly. Still sleeping. Poor thing's exhausted. She might have nightmares. If she wakes up scared, just talk to her. Tell her I'm coming back. Tell her I promised. I know what to do, Marcus. I've handled scared children before. Betty's voice softened. You just focus on what you need to do. Bring those other kids home. I will. He crouched beside the couch one more time. Lily hadn't moved. Her breathing was slow and even, her face peaceful in sleep. I'll be back, he whispered. Wait for me. Then he walked out of the room and prepared for war. The next hour passed in a blur. Final preparations, equipment checks, route confirmations, the rumble of 250 motorcycles firing up a sound that shook the pre-dawn stillness like thunder. Marcus sat on his Harley waiting for the signal. Around him, brothers revved their engines, their faces hard with determination. This was it. The moment everything changed. Grizzly's voice crackled through the radio. All teams move out. God be with us. The convoy rolled forward, 250 motorcycles moving through the empty streets. Marcus had never seen anything like it. The power, the unity, the unstoppable force of men who had decided that enough was enough. They split into their assigned groups as they approached the industrial district. Main force heading straight for the front. Third team peeling off to surround the perimeter. Extraction team, Marcus's team, circling around to the east side. The warehouse came into view. A hulking structure with few windows and heavy security. Floodlights illuminated the front entrance. Guards patrolled in pairs. They had no idea what was coming. Marcus signaled his team to stop. They killed their engines, dismounted silently. 15 men, all volunteers, all veterans of situations that had required stealth and precision. Radio check, Marcus whispered. 14 confirmations. Remember, the children are the priority. Everything else is secondary. Nods all around. Marcus checked his watch. 3 minutes until the main force made their move. 3 minutes until all hell broke loose. He thought about Lily, about the promise he'd made, about everything that was riding on the next hour. Then he pushed it all aside. Focus. The mission. Nothing else. 2 minutes. 1 minute. 30 seconds. The first explosion of sound came from the north. Motorcycles roaring, men shouting, the deliberate chaos of the diversion team doing exactly what they were supposed to do. Marcus heard the guards at the warehouse shouting, heard the crackle of radios, heard the confusion spreading. "Move," he said. 15 men moved. They crossed the open ground in seconds. Marcus reached the service door first, locked as expected. He nodded to Wire, their lock specialist, who had it open in under 10 seconds. They slipped inside. The interior was dark, industrial. The sound of the diversion outside muffled by thick walls. Marcus led the way, moving fast but quiet, following the route Pixel had mapped from stolen blueprints. First guard appeared around a corner. Marcus had him on the ground before he could raise his weapon. Zip ties on wrists and ankles, tape over mouth. Next. Second guard heard the scuffle, came running. 2 brothers intercepted him, took him down hard. More zip ties, more tape. They pushed deeper into the warehouse. The intel said the children were in the central storage area, a large room that had been converted into a holding pen. Marcus felt his anger building with every step. These men had turned a warehouse into a prison for children. They'd built cages for kids. Focus. Mission. Nothing else. They reached the central area, a heavy door, locked with an electronic keypad. "Wire." Wire moved forward, attached a device to the keypad. 30 seconds of tense silence while he worked. Click. The door swung open. What Marcus saw next would haunt him for the rest of his life. 8 children huddled in metal cages. Actual cages like you'd use for animals. The youngest couldn't have been more than 5. The oldest maybe 11. They were dirty, terrified, some of them too broken to even cry anymore. One of them, a boy with dark hair and hollow eyes, looked up when the door opened. "Diego," Marcus whispered. The boy's eyes went wide. You're the bikers. Lily said she found you. She found us. She's safe. And now we're getting you out." For the first time in God knows how long, Diego started to cry. Marcus's team moved fast. Bolt cutters on the cage locks. Brothers scooping up children too weak to walk. Soft voices promising safety, promising it was over, promising everything would be okay. "Let's move. Back the way we came." They were halfway to the exit when the lights came on. "Going somewhere." Victor Marsh stood at the far end of the corridor. Behind him, 6 armed men. In his hand, a pistol. Marcus stepped forward, positioning himself between Marsh and the children. His brothers formed a protective line behind him. "Victor Marsh, I've been wanting to meet you." "Hell's Angels," Marsh's voice dripped with contempt. "Playing hero? How quaint. You think you can just waltz in here and take what's mine? These children aren't yours. They never were. They're inventory. Product. They have value, which is more than I can say for you." Marsh raised his pistol. "Put the children down and walk away. This doesn't have to end badly for you." "It already ended badly." "For you?" Marcus smiled coldly. "Right now, federal agents are receiving everything we know about your operation. Every bank account, every buyer, every child you've sold. By sunrise, you'll be the most wanted man in 4 states. Marsh's composure flickered. "You're bluffing." "Try me." A tense silence. Marcus could feel the children trembling behind him, could feel his brothers ready to move at his signal. Then Marsh laughed. A cold, ugly sound. "You think I don't have contingencies? You think I haven't prepared for exactly this scenario? The moment I knew you were coming, I made calls. Right now, Sergeant Peters is on his way with every dirty cop in the county. You'll be arrested before you ever leave this building. And these children," he gestured with his pistol, "they'll be back in their cages by morning." No. A new voice. Everyone turned. Demon stepped through a side door, a bloody grin on his face. Peters won't be coming. He's a little tied up at the moment, along with his buddies. Marsh's face went pale. That's impossible. Impossible is a strong word. Demon shrugged. We prefer thorough. The sound of helicopters overhead, the distant wail of sirens, getting closer. FBI, Marcus said. They move faster than you thought. Turns out when you send evidence of child trafficking to the right people, they take it seriously. Marsh's men exchanged nervous glances. One of them lowered his weapon. You're finished, Marsh. All of you. Marcus stepped forward. Put down your guns. Let us walk out of here with these children. Maybe the FBI will take that into account when they're deciding how long you rot in prison. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then one of Marsh's men dropped his weapon. Then another. Then all of them. All except Marsh himself. No. His voice was shaking now. Desperate. No, this isn't how it ends. I've worked too hard. Built too much. I won't let some biker trash destroy everything I've... He raised his pistol, aimed at Marcus. Marcus didn't flinch. The shot rang out. But it wasn't Marsh who fired. Grizzly stood in the doorway behind Marsh, smoke still rising from his weapon. Marsh crumpled to the ground, clutching his shoulder, screaming in pain. That's for the children, you piece of garbage. Grizzly's voice was ice. Be grateful I aimed for your shoulder. FBI agents flooded the building. Chaos erupted, shouting handcuffs, children being carried to safety. Marcus stood in the middle of it all, watching Marsh being dragged away, watching justice finally being served. Diego tugged at his sleeve. Mr. Lilly, is she really okay? Marcus crouched down to the boy's level. She's safe. She's waiting for you. She said she was going to find help. I didn't believe her. I thought... His voice broke. I thought I'd never see her again. She never gave up on you. She never gave up on any of you. Diego threw his arms around Marcus's neck, sobbing. Marcus held him, this broken child who had sacrificed himself to protect a 6-year-old girl. It's over, he whispered. It's all over. You're safe now. Around him, brothers were carrying children out of the warehouse. Some of the kids were crying. Some were silent. Some clung to their rescuers like they'd never let go. The sun was rising. The nightmare was ending. And somewhere across town, a little girl was waiting for him to come home. Marcus stood still, holding Diego's hand. Let's go find Lily. The convoy of motorcycles roared back through Cedar Falls as the morning sun broke over the horizon. Marcus rode at the front, Diego sitting behind him, arms wrapped tight around his waist. The boy hadn't spoken since they left the warehouse. He just held on like his life depended on it. Behind them, ambulances carried the other 7 children to the hospital. FBI vehicles transported Marsh and his men to federal custody. News helicopters circled overhead, capturing footage that would be on every screen in America by noon. But Marcus wasn't thinking about any of that. He was thinking about one thing only. Lily. The clubhouse came into view. Before Marcus could even kill his engine, the front door burst open. Betty stood there, her face pale with worry. Marcus, thank God. She's been asking for you every 5 minutes. He was off the bike in seconds. Where is she? Back room. She woke up an hour ago and wouldn't stop crying until I promised you were coming back. Marcus ran. He threw open the door to the back room, and there she was. Lily sitting on the couch, clutching Hope so hard her knuckles were white. Her face was streaked with tears, her eyes red and swollen. The moment she saw him, everything changed. Marcus! She launched herself off the couch and ran. He dropped to his knees just in time to catch her. She slammed into his chest so hard it nearly knocked him backward, her tiny arms wrapping around his neck with surprising strength. You came back. You came back. You promised, and you came back. I told you I would. His voice was rough. I always keep my promises. She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. I was so scared. Betty said you went to fight the bad men. I thought maybe you wouldn't. Hey, look at me. He pulled back just enough to see her face. Look at me, Lily. She looked. Her eyes were still streaming, her lower lip trembling. I will always come back to you. Always. Do you understand? She nodded, but he could see she didn't fully believe it. Couldn't fully believe it. Too many people had made her promises and broken them. I'm going to prove it to you, he said softly. Every day for the rest of your life I'm going to prove it. Until you believe it so deep in your bones that you never doubt it again. You mean it. I mean it. She threw her arms around him again. He held her, feeling her heartbeat against his chest, feeling the trust she was trying so hard to give him. Then a voice from the doorway. Lily. Marcus turned. Diego stood there, looking uncertain, looking like he wasn't sure he was allowed to interrupt. Lily's head snapped up. Her eyes went wide. Diego! She scrambled out of Marcus's arms and ran to the boy. They collided in the doorway, two children who had survived hell together, who had protected each other when no one else would. You're okay. You're okay. I thought they took you forever. Lily was crying again. I went to the bikers like you said. I asked them to help. I asked them to find you. Diego held her tight, his own eyes wet. You did it, Lily. You actually did it. I didn't believe anyone would listen. Marcus listened. He's going to be my daddy. He promised. Diego looked over Lily's head at Marcus. The question in his eyes was clear. Is it true? Marcus nodded. Something in Diego's face crumpled. Not sadness. Relief. The overwhelming relief of knowing that someone he loved would be safe. Good, he whispered. Good. She deserves that. Marcus stood up slowly. What about you, Diego? Where's your family? The boy's expression shuddered. Don't have one. Never did. I've been on the street since I was 7. 4 years? Yeah, 4 years. This 10-year-old had been surviving alone for almost half his life. That ends today, Marcus said. Diego looked at him warily. What do you mean? I mean you saved Lily's life. You let them take you so she could get away. You told her where to find help. You're the reason she's standing here right now. Marcus's voice was firm. You think I'm going to let you go back to the streets after that? You can't. I'm not. Grizzly, Marcus called over his shoulder. The club president appeared in the doorway. Yeah, Diego. He needs a home. Grizzly looked at the boy. Really looked at him. Saw the same thing Marcus had seen in Lily. That mixture of fear and hope. That desperate need to believe things could be different. My wife and I, Grizzly said slowly. We've got a spare room. Our kids are grown. House feels empty sometimes. He crouched down to Diego's level. What do you say, son? You want to come home with us? Diego's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you're brave. I know you protected a little girl when no one else would. I know you survived 4 years on the street, which means you're tough as nails. Grizzly smiled gently. I know my wife would love you the second she met you. She's got a soft spot for kids who need a chance. But I don't know how to be normal. I don't know how to live in a house. What if I mess everything up? Then we figure it out together. That's what family does. Diego looked at Lily. She nodded eagerly. Do it, Diego. Say yes. Then we can be like real family. You'll be like my brother. Something broke in Diego's face. The wall he'd built around himself, the armor that had kept him alive on the streets, it cracked and shattered. Okay, he whispered. Okay, yes. Lily cheered. She grabbed Diego's hand and started pulling him toward Marcus. See, I told you the bikers were good. I told you they'd help. Marcus watched them, these two broken children who had found each other in the darkness, who had kept each other alive until help finally came. This was why they'd fought. This moment. This chance for something better. Marcus, Grizzly's voice was low. FBI wants to talk to you, and there's something else you need to know. What? Marsh is talking, trying to cut a deal. He's giving up names, locations, everything. That's good, isn't it? It's good for the case, but some of the names he's dropping, they're big. Politicians, business leaders, a state senator. Marcus felt cold spread through his chest. How big? Big enough that some people are going to want this story to disappear. Big enough that you and Lily and everyone involved might become targets. Let them come. It's not that simple. These aren't street thugs, Marcus. They're powerful people with resources. They can make problems for you in ways that bullets can't solve. Custody hearings, background checks, legal complications. What are you saying? I'm saying the fight isn't over. We won the battle, but the war is just beginning. Grizzly's eyes were serious. Are you ready for that? Marcus looked back at Lily and Diego, still holding hands, still talking excitedly about being a family. Yeah, he said. I'm ready. The next few hours were chaos. FBI agents needed statements. Paramedics checked every rescued child. News crews gathered outside the clubhouse, cameras rolling, reporters shouting questions. The story had broken, and it was spreading like wildfire. Marcus kept Lily close through all of it. She refused to let go of his hand, and he didn't want her to. An FBI agent named Sarah Chen approached them. She was in her 40s, professional, but Marcus could see the humanity in her eyes when she looked at Lily. Mr. Cole, I need to speak with you about the child. Her name is Lily. Lily. Agent Chen crouched down to the girl's level. Hi, Lily. I'm Agent Chen. I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Lily pressed closer to Marcus. He stays with me. Of course, he can stay. Agent Chen looked up at Marcus. She seems very attached to you. She asked me to be her father. I said yes. I see. You understand that's not a simple process. There are legal procedures, background checks, home studies. I understand. And you have a criminal record. Old charges, nothing violent in over 15 years. Still, it could complicate things. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. So what are you saying? She goes back into the system that failed her, back into foster care, where men like her last foster father can get their hands on her. Agent Chen held up a hand. I'm not saying that. I'm explaining the process. But, she glanced around, lowered her voice. Given the circumstances, given what she's been through and what she witnessed, I'm going to recommend emergency placement. With you. What does that mean? It means she stays with you while the investigation proceeds and the formal adoption process begins. It's temporary, legally speaking, but it keeps her safe and gives you time to navigate the system properly. Relief flooded through Marcus. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. There are people who won't want this story to have a happy ending. Victor Marsh isn't the only monster involved. Some of the names he's giving us. She shook her head. Be careful, Mr. Cole. Watch your back. And watch hers. I will. Agent Chen stood. We'll need Lily's testimony eventually. She's a key witness. Can she handle that? Marcus looked down at Lily. Her face was pale but determined. I can do it, she said quietly. I want to. I want to help put the bad men in jail. You're very brave. Marcus says brave means being scared and doing the hard thing anyway. Agent Chen smiled. He's right. She walked away. Marcus squeezed Lily's hand. You okay? I'm tired and hungry, and I want to go home. Home. She'd said home, like she already believed it. Let's go then. They walked through the crowd of brothers, agents, and reporters. Questions shouted at them, cameras flashing. Marcus ignored it all, focused only on getting Lily to safety. They reached his motorcycle. Lily looked at it uncertainly. You want to ride with me? Is it safe? Safest place in the world. I'll go slow. Promise. She nodded. He lifted her onto the seat, showed her where to hold on, then climbed in front of her. Ready. Her arms wrapped around him. Tight. Trusting. Ready. They rode away from the chaos, away from the cameras, away from everything. Just a man and a little girl, heading toward something that felt for the first time in either of their lives, like hope. Marcus's cabin wasn't much. A small place on the edge of town surrounded by trees, quiet and private. He'd lived here alone for 12 years. Never thought he'd want it any other way. Now, walking through the door with Lily's hand in his, he saw it differently. Saw all the ways it could become a home for two, instead of a refuge for one. It's nice, Lily said softly. Bigger than anywhere I've slept before. You hungry? I can make something. I'm not much of a cook, but I can do eggs. Grilled cheese. Grilled cheese, like at the clubhouse. You liked that? It was the best thing I ever ate. Marcus felt that crack in his chest widen further. The best thing she'd ever eaten. A simple grilled cheese sandwich. Coming right up. He made the sandwich while Lily explored the cabin. She touched everything carefully, reverently, like she expected it all to disappear if she moved too fast. Marcus. Yeah, do I really get to live here forever? Forever. What if you change your mind? He stopped what he was doing. Turned to face her. Lily, come here. She walked over slowly. He crouched down to her level. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. Can you do that? She nodded. I spent most of my life running away from things. From responsibility, from feelings, from anyone who tried to get close. I thought I was happy that way. I thought I didn't need anyone. He took her hands in his. I was wrong. I was lonely, and I didn't even know it. Then you showed up. You, this tiny, brave girl who'd been through more in 6 years than most people face in a lifetime. And you asked me for something I didn't think I could give. A father. A father. And the second you asked, I knew. I knew I'd spent my whole life waiting for you without realizing it. You're not a burden, Lily. You're not a problem to solve. You're a gift. The gift I never knew I needed. Tears were streaming down her face. Nobody ever wanted me before. I want you. I want you more than I've ever wanted anything. And I will spend every day proving it until you believe it as much as I do. She threw herself into his arms. He held her while she cried, while years of loneliness and fear poured out of her in racking sobs. I love you, she whispered against his chest. Is that okay? That I love you already? His throat tightened. Yeah, Lily. That's okay. I love you too. They stayed like that for a long time. A father and daughter finding each other in the wreckage of their broken lives. The phone rang. Marcus hesitated, not wanting to let go. But the world wasn't going to wait. "Hello." "Iron," Grizzly's voice. Tense. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "One of Marsh's lawyers showed up. Big shot from the city. He's making noise about Lily." Marcus's blood went cold. "What kind of noise?" "He's claiming we kidnapped her. Says she was legally placed in foster care and we removed her illegally. He's threatening charges." "That's insane. Her foster father was abusing her." "I know, we know. But the paperwork says she was placed legally. And until we can prove the abuse, she's not going back. I don't care what any lawyer says." "Nobody's suggesting that. But this could complicate the adoption, a lot." Grizzly paused. "There's more. The lawyer's connected to one of the names Marsh gave up. State Senator Hayes. Word is Hayes is panicking about the investigation. He's trying to discredit everyone involved, make it look like we're the criminals, and Marsh is the victim. That won't work. We have evidence. We have the children. Evidence can disappear. Children's testimony can be challenged. These people have resources we can't even imagine, Marcus. They're not going to go quietly." Marcus looked at Lily, who was watching him with worried eyes. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she could sense something was wrong. "What do we do?" "Pixel's working on it. He's digging into Hayes, into the lawyer, into everyone connected to this network. If there's dirt, he'll find it. In the meantime, keep Lily close. Don't let her out of your sight." "I wasn't planning to." "And Marcus the lawyer asked where she was. I didn't tell him, but he's got resources. He might find out." "Let him come." "That's what I was afraid you'd say." Grizzly sighed. "Just be careful, brother. We didn't save that girl to lose her now." He hung up. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand. "Marcus?" Lily's voice was small. "Is something wrong?" He forced himself to smile. "Nothing we can't handle." "You're lying, I can tell. Your eyes get dark when you're worried. Too smart for her own good. There are some bad people who don't want us to be a family," he said carefully. "They might try to stop us." "The men from the warehouse." "Friends of theirs. Rich, powerful people who don't like that we stopped their operation." "What are they going to do?" "They're going to try to take you away from me." Lily's face went white. "No. No, I won't go. I won't. You promised, and I'm going to keep that promise. Listen to me." He took her hands again. "I don't care who they are. I don't care how much money they have or how many lawyers they send. You are my daughter now. Mine. And nobody is taking you from me. Nobody. Do you understand?" She nodded, but the fear was still there. "Whatever happens," Marcus said, "we face it together. You and me. That's what family does." "Together," she repeated. "Together." The grilled cheese sat forgotten on the counter. The world outside continued to spin full of threats and complications and powerful people who wanted them to fail. But in that small cabin, a man and a little girl held on to each other and refused to let go. 3 hours later, there was a knock at the door. Marcus tensed. He'd been expecting this, but not so soon. "Lily, go to the bedroom. Stay there until I come get you." "But now!" She ran. He heard the bedroom door close. Marcus walked to the front door, opened it. 2 men in expensive suits stood on his porch. Behind them, a black SUV with tinted windows. "Marcus Cole." The taller one spoke. Slick hair, cold eyes. The look of a man who thought money made him untouchable. "Who's asking?" "I'm Robert Chen. I represent interests concerned about the well-being of a child named Lily. We understand she's currently in your care." "She's with her father." "You're not her legal father, Mr. Cole. You're a criminal with a record, a member of an outlaw motorcycle gang, and you have no standing to keep that child. Get off my property." "I'm afraid it's not that simple." Robert Chen smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. We have concerns about Lily's safety. In fact, we've filed an emergency motion to have her placed in protective custody pending a full investigation. Investigation into what? Into the circumstances of her removal from her legally assigned foster home, into the violent raid conducted by your associates, into whether a man with your background is suitable to care for a vulnerable child. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Her foster father was molesting her. That's why she ran. Allegations that have yet to be proven. Until they are, the state has an obligation to protect her. Protect her? You're trying to cover up a trafficking ring that sold children. Your clients are the ones who belong in prison. Robert Chen's expression didn't change. I don't know what you're talking about. I represent concerned citizens who want to ensure the proper procedures are followed. Now you can either cooperate, or we can come back with the police and take her by force. Your choice. Marcus took a step forward. He was bigger than both men, stronger, more dangerous. You come near my daughter and I'll break every bone in your body. Robert Chen didn't flinch. Threatening a lawyer? That's not going to help your case, Mr. Cole. We'll be back. With a court order and officers of the law. And when we take that girl, there won't be a thing you can do about it. He turned and walked back to the SUV. His associate followed. Marcus watched them go, his whole body shaking with rage. They wanted a war fine. He'd give them a war. Marcus stood at the window watching the black SUV disappear down the road. His heart was pounding, his fists still clenched so tight his knuckles had gone white. They were coming for her. The monsters in suits with their legal papers and their connections. They thought they could take his daughter, over his dead body. Marcus. He turned. Lily stood in the hallway, her face pale. Hope clutched against her chest. I told you to stay in the bedroom. I heard them. The men. They want to take me away. He crossed the room in 3 strides and crouched in front of her. Nobody is taking you anywhere. But they said they have papers. They said the police would come. I don't care what they said. You're my daughter, mine. And I will fight every lawyer, every judge, every cop in this state before I let anyone take you from me. Tears welled in her eyes. What if they win? They won't. But what if, Lily? He gripped her shoulders gently. Look at me. I survived 2 bullets in Tucson. I survived federal investigations, rival gangs, 20 years of things that should have killed me. I survived all of that, and you know why. Because I didn't have anything worth fighting for. Not really. Just myself, and I didn't care that much about myself. His voice dropped. Now I have you, and I swear on everything I am they will not take you. Do you believe me? She searched his face. Then slowly she nodded. Good. Now I need to make some calls. You stay close. He pulled out his phone and dialed Grizzly. They came, Marcus said, before Grizzly could speak. 2 lawyers, one named Robert Chen. They're filing an emergency motion to take Lily. I know. Pixel intercepted the filing 10 minutes ago. It's scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Tomorrow? That's too fast. That's the point. They're trying to move before we can mount a defense. But Marcus, we've got something. Pixel found the connection between Robert Chen and Senator Hayes. Turns out Chen's firm has been handling Hayes's legal matters for years, and Hayes was a major donor to Victor Marsh's charity foundation, the same foundation that was a front for the trafficking operation. So they're all connected. Deep. Hayes is panicking. He knows if this investigation goes further, his career is over. Prison time, probably. He's using every resource he has to shut it down. Including taking Lily. If they can discredit you, discredit the rescue. Make it look like we were the criminals, the whole case falls apart. Lily's testimony becomes unreliable. The other kids' stories get questioned. Marsh walks Hayes, stays protected, and everyone involved goes free. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. They'd let child traffickers go free just to protect a politician. You're not dealing with people who have consciences, brother. You're dealing with people who have power. And power doesn't care about anything except keeping itself safe. So what do? We fight back. But not with fists. Not this time. We fight them in court on the record where the whole world can see what they're doing. I don't have money for lawyers. You don't need money. Agent Chen from the FBI, she's been in touch. Turns out the Justice Department is very interested in Senator Hayes. They're sending someone to represent Lily's interests, a federal prosecutor who specializes in child trafficking cases. Can they stop the hearing tomorrow? They're trying. But Marcus, you need to be prepared. If they can't stop it, you're going to have to walk into that courtroom and fight for your daughter in front of a judge who might already be compromised. Then that's what I'll do. One more thing. The foster father, Gerald Morrison. Pixel found something. What? Morrison has a history. Complaints filed by previous foster children that were mysteriously dismissed. A pattern that goes back 10 years. And guess who signed off on his continued certification as a foster parent? Marcus's stomach turned. Don't tell me. Victor Marsh, back when he was still with CPS. The pieces clicked together. Marsh hadn't just been running a trafficking operation. He'd been building a pipeline, identifying vulnerable children, placing them with abusers who would break them down, then harvesting them when they ran to the streets. Lily wasn't random, Marcus said slowly. She was targeted from the beginning. Looks that way. Morrison was supposed to prepare her for collection. When she ran before they could grab her, they had to improvise. Marcus looked at Lily, who was sitting on the couch, watching him with worried eyes. She had no idea how close she'd come, how deep the evil ran, how many people had conspired to destroy her. I'm going to end them, he said quietly. Every single one of them. We all are. But right now, focus on tomorrow. Keep Lily safe. And Marcus, get some sleep. You're going to need it. He hung up. Lily was still watching him. Is it bad? He sat down beside her. It's complicated. But we have people helping us. Good people. Like your biker friends, like them, and others. The lady FBI agent, her too. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, Marcus, the man who was supposed to be my foster father. Mr. Gerald. He wasn't nice. I know, sweetheart. He said things, did things. I didn't understand at first, but I knew they were wrong. That's why I ran. Marcus felt rage building in his chest again. You did the right thing. Running was brave. He said no one would believe me if I told. He said I was just a foster kid and no one cares about foster kids. He was wrong. I care. The whole club cares. And tomorrow we're going to make sure everyone knows what he did. What they all did. Will he go to jail? If there's any justice in this world, he'll go to jail for a very long time. She leaned against him. I'm glad you're my daddy now. His arm went around her automatically, protectively. Me too, Lily. Me too. The night passed slowly. Marcus didn't sleep. He sat in the chair by Lily's bed, watching her breathe, planning for every possible scenario tomorrow might bring. Around midnight, his phone buzzed. A text from Pixel. Found something big. Morrison kept records. Detailed records. Everything he did to every child placed with him. Sick bastard was proud of it. Sending to FBI now. This changes everything. Marcus stared at the message. Evidence. Real evidence. The kind that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. Another text also found payments. Morrison received monthly deposits from a shell company linked to Hayes's campaign fund. They were paying him to abuse these kids, to break them, get them ready. Marcus's hands shook. He wanted to find Morrison, find Hayes, find every person involved in this nightmare, and tear them apart with his bare hands. But that wouldn't help Lily. That wouldn't win the fight that actually mattered. He texted back, "Make sure it's all documented. Every cent, every connection. I want these people destroyed." Pixel's response, "Already done. By morning, every news outlet in the country will have this. They wanted a cover-up. They're going to get the opposite." Marcus allowed himself a grim smile. They thought they could fight with money and lawyers and corrupted systems. They forgot that information was the most powerful weapon of all. And now the truth was coming for them. Dawn broke gray and cold. Marcus made breakfast for Lily eggs, toast, orange juice. She ate mechanically, too nervous to taste anything. "What do I have to do today?" she asked. "There's going to be a hearing, in front of a judge. People are going to ask questions about where you want to live, about what happened to you. All you have to do is tell the truth. The whole truth about Mr. Gerald. Only if you're ready. There will be other people there to help explain things. You don't have to carry all of it yourself. Will you be there? Every second. I won't leave your side. Promise. I promise." The doorbell rang. Marcus tensed, but a glance through the window showed Grizzly's truck, not a black SUV. He opened the door. Grizzly stood there, but he wasn't alone. Behind him was a woman Marcus didn't recognize. Tall, sharp-eyed, carrying a briefcase with the air of someone who ate lawyers for breakfast. "Marcus, this is Rachel Torres, federal prosecutor. She's been assigned to Lily's case." Rachel stepped forward. Her handshake was firm. "Mr. Cole, I've reviewed everything. The FBI's evidence, Pixel's findings, the testimonies from the other rescued children. I have to tell you, in 15 years of prosecuting trafficking cases, I've never seen a network this extensive or this well protected. Can you stop them? I can do more than stop them. I can destroy them." Her eyes were cold with purpose. Senator Hayes made a mistake when he decided to fight this. He drew attention to himself. Now the Justice Department is looking at everything he's ever touched. By the time we're done, he won't just lose his seat. He'll lose his freedom. "What about Lily? What about the hearing today?" "That's why I'm here early. The judge assigned to the case is Margaret Sullivan. She has a reputation for being fair, but she's also cautious. She'll want to do things by the book. Is that good or bad? It's good if we have the evidence to back up our claims, which we do. The materials Pixel uncovered are irrefutable. Gerald Morrison's records alone are enough to put him away for life, and the financial connections between Hayes, Morrison, and Marsh create a pattern that any judge will recognize. So we win." Rachel's expression softened slightly. "In a fair fight, yes. But these people don't fight fair. Robert Chen is going to try every trick in the book. Delays, objections, challenges to the evidence. He'll try to paint you as a dangerous criminal, the club as a gang, the whole rescue as a vigilante operation that endangered children. It saved them. I know, but facts and courtroom narratives aren't always the same thing. That's why I need you to stay calm today. No matter what they say, no matter how they try to provoke you, you stay calm. Can you do that?" Marcus thought about Robert Chen's smug face, about the men who had targeted Lily, who had sold children who thought their money made them untouchable. "I can do it. For her." "Good." Rachel crouched down to Lily's level. "And you must be the famous Lily I've heard so much about." Lily nodded shyly. "I hear you're very brave, that you walked into a Hells Angels clubhouse all by yourself to ask for help." "I was scared. Being scared is okay. Doing the right thing when you're scared is what makes you brave. Rachel smiled gently. Today might be scary too, but I promise you there are a lot of people fighting for you. All you have to do is tell the truth. Can you do that? Yes. Perfect. Rachel stood. We should go. The hearing is in 2 hours, and I want to be early. They drove to the courthouse in Grizzly's truck. Marcus sat in the back with Lily, her hand gripping his the entire way. As they approached the building, his stomach dropped. News vans lined the street. Reporters clustered near the entrance. Cameras everywhere. Word got out, Grizzly muttered. Pixel's doing, Rachel said. The story went national this morning. Every major network is covering it. Hayes tried to bury this quietly. Now the whole country is watching. Marcus looked at the crowd. Somewhere in that chaos, Robert Chen and his people were waiting, ready to fight. But so was he. They made their way through the gauntlet of reporters. Questions shouted from every direction. Marcus ignored them all, focused on getting Lily inside safely. The courthouse lobby was packed. Brothers from the club had shown up, dozens of them, filling the space with leather and solidarity. Marcus caught eyes with Demon Torch Roadkill and others. They nodded. We've got your back. On the other side of the lobby, a different group. Suits and polished shoes. Robert Chen in the center, speaking quietly with a man Marcus didn't recognize, but who radiated power and importance. That's Senator Hayes, Rachel murmured. He actually showed up. Arrogant bastard! Hayes's eyes swept the room and landed on Marcus. For a long moment they stared at each other. Then Hayes smiled, a cold, confident smile that said, I'm going to win. Marcus didn't smile back. He just held Lily's hand tighter. The bailiff called them into the courtroom. Judge Margaret Sullivan was in her 60s, silver-haired with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She surveyed the packed room with obvious displeasure. This is a custody hearing, not a circus. I will have order in my courtroom or I will have people removed. Is that understood? Murmurs of assent. Good. Let's proceed. She looked at her papers. The matter before us is the emergency placement of the minor child Lily currently in the care of Marcus Cole. Mr. Chen, you filed this motion. State your case. Robert Chen stood smoothing his expensive suit. Your Honor, we're here today because a vulnerable child was removed from her legally assigned foster home by members of an outlaw motorcycle gang. This removal was done without court authorization, without notifying Child Protective Services, and without any regard for proper legal procedures. The child was being abused, Rachel interrupted. Allegations, Chen shot back. Unproven allegations made by a 6-year-old who was clearly coached by her captors. Coached? Marcus couldn't stop himself. Nobody coached her. She ran from that house because, Mr. Cole. Judge Sullivan's voice cracked like a whip. You will remain silent unless directly addressed. Is that clear? Marcus forced himself to nod. To stay calm. For Lily. Continue, Mr. Chen. Your Honor, Marcus Cole has an extensive criminal record. Assault weapons charges association with known criminal organizations. He is entirely unsuitable to care for a child. We request that Lily be placed in protective custody immediately pending a full investigation. Rachel stood. Your Honor, may I respond? Go ahead, Ms. Torres. Mr. Chen conveniently omits several facts. First, Lily wasn't just in foster care. She was placed with Gerald Morrison, a man who has now been arrested on 47 counts of child abuse spanning a decade. A man who kept detailed records of his crimes records that have been submitted to this court under seal. A murmur ran through the room. Second, the placement of Lily with Morrison wasn't random. It was arranged by Victor Marsh, former CPS supervisor, and the leader of a child trafficking ring that has now resulted in federal indictments. Marsh specifically targeted Lily because she had no family, no advocates, no one to ask questions when she disappeared. "Objection," Chen said. "This is inflammatory and irrelevant to the custody question." "It's entirely relevant, Your Honor. The system that Mr. Chen claims should have been respected was corrupted from the inside. Lily ran from Morrison's home because she recognized danger. She sought protection from the only people who would listen. Marcus Cole and his associates didn't kidnap this child. They saved her life." Judge Sullivan studied both lawyers. "Mr. Chen, what do you say to the evidence about Morrison?" "Morrison's alleged crimes are a separate matter. What's at issue today is whether Mr. Cole is suitable to Your Honor." Rachel pulled a document from her briefcase. "I have here bank records showing that Gerald Morrison received monthly payments from a shell company linked to Senator Hayes' campaign fund. The same Senator Hayes who is sitting in this courtroom right now." The room erupted. Reporters started typing furiously. Hayes' face went pale, then red with anger. "Order!" Judge Sullivan banged her gavel. "Order in the court!" Chen looked like he'd been slapped. He glanced back at Hayes, whose composure had cracked for the first time. "Your Honor," Chen said, scrambling, "these allegations against Senator Hayes are completely— Save it, Mr. Chen." Judge Sullivan's voice had gone cold. "I've seen the FBI's preliminary report. I know exactly who is involved in this network and how deep it goes. Did you think I wouldn't do my homework before this hearing?" Chen opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time, he had nothing to say. "Let me make something clear." Sullivan leaned forward. "This court exists to protect children. Not politicians, not lawyers, not people who think their money puts them above the law. Children." She looked directly at Hayes. "Senator, if the evidence I've seen is accurate, you should be worried about your own future, not trying to manipulate mine." Hayes stood abruptly. "This is outrageous. I won't sit here and be— You will sit, Senator, or you will be held in contempt. Make your choice." The moment stretched. Then Hayes sat. "Now." Sullivan turned back to the matter at hand. "Lily, can you come forward, please?" Marcus felt Lily's hand tighten on his. He leaned down. "It's okay. I'm right here. I won't move." She stood slowly and walked to the front of the courtroom. She looked impossibly small, standing there alone. "Lily, do you understand why you're here today?" "Yes, ma'am. People want to decide where I live." "That's right. Can you tell me in your own words what happened at your foster home? Take your time." Lily took a shaky breath. Then she started talking. She talked about Mr. Gerald, about the way he looked at her, the way he touched her hair, then her face, then other places, the things he said about how she was special, how this was their secret, how no one would believe her if she told. The courtroom was absolutely silent. She talked about running, about sleeping behind the diner, about Diego who taught her how to survive, about the van men who took Diego and came back for her. She talked about the Hells Angels clubhouse, about being so scared she could barely speak, about Marcus who didn't turn her away, who listened, who said yes when she asked if he could be her daddy. "He kept his promise," Lily said, her voice cracking. "Everyone else left or hurt me or didn't care. But Marcus kept his promise. He said he would protect me, and he did. He said he would come back, and he did." She looked at the judge, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't take me away from him. Please. He's my daddy now. He's the only one who ever wanted me." Judge Sullivan was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was rough. "Thank you, Lily. You can go back to Mr. Cole now." Lily ran. She practically flew back to Marcus and threw herself into his arms. He caught her, held her, felt her sobbing against his chest. "It's okay," he whispered. "It's okay. You did so good. I'm so proud of you." Sullivan looked at the room. At the lawyers, the spectators, the cameras that shouldn't have been there, but somehow were. "I've heard enough. This court finds that emergency placement with Marcus Cole is in the best interest of the child. Mr. Cole, pending completion of formal adoption proceedings, you are hereby granted temporary custody of Lily." The room exploded. Cheers from the bikers. Outrage from Chen. Reporters shouting questions. "Furthermore," Sullivan's gavel silenced everyone. "This court is referring all evidence regarding Gerald Morrison, Victor Marsh, and Senator Hayes to the appropriate federal authorities. And Mr. Chen," she fixed the lawyer with a look that could have frozen fire, "I suggest you carefully consider your continued involvement in this case. Lawyers who help cover up child abuse tend to find their careers very short." Chen gathered his papers with shaking hands and walked out without a word. Hayes followed, surrounded by aides trying to shield him from the cameras. They'd lost. Completely and utterly lost. And everyone had seen it happen. Marcus stood Lily still in his arms. Around him, brothers clapped him on the back, shouted congratulations, wiped tears they'd deny later. Rachel approached. "Congratulations, Mr. Cole. You won." "We won. Couldn't have done it without you. Don't thank me yet. The formal adoption will take time. There will be home studies, background checks, paperwork. But after today," she smiled, "I don't think anyone's going to try to stop it." Grizzly appeared at his side. "Come on, brother. Let's get you two out of here before the reporters eat you alive." They made their way out of the courthouse, surrounded by a wall of leather-clad brothers. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Marcus ignored all of it. He had his daughter. That was all that mattered. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds. Marcus stopped and looked up at the sky, feeling warmth on his face for the first time in what felt like forever. "Marcus?" He looked down at Lily. "We won." "Yeah, sweetheart, we won. So I get to stay with you forever." "Forever?" She smiled. A real smile. The first one he'd seen that reached her eyes, that lit up her whole face, that looked like an actual 6-year-old instead of a child who'd seen too much. "Can we go home now?" Home. Such a simple word. Such a powerful one. "Yeah, Lily, let's go home." They walked toward Grizzly's truck, hand in hand. Father and daughter. Family. Behind them, a corrupt senator was being led away by FBI agents. A trafficking network was crumbling. A system that had failed countless children was being exposed and rebuilt. But Marcus wasn't thinking about any of that. He was thinking about tomorrow, about making breakfast for his daughter, about teaching her to ride a bicycle, about all the ordinary, beautiful, precious moments that made up a life. The fight wasn't over. There would be more hearings, more paperwork, more challenges, but the hardest part was done. They'd won the battle that mattered most, and from now on, whatever came next, they would face it together. 6 months later, Marcus stood in Judge Sullivan's courtroom for the last time. But this time, there were no lawyers fighting against him, no senators trying to destroy him, no threats hanging over his head. This time there was only a 6-year-old girl in a white dress holding his hand and bouncing with excitement. "Today's the day, right?" Lily whispered. "Today, I'm really yours. Today, you're really mine. Legally, officially, forever. I've been yours forever already." Marcus's throat tightened. "Yeah, Lily, you have." The courtroom was packed, but not with enemies this time. 47 Hells Angels sat in the gallery, cleaned up as much as bikers could be cleaned up, wearing their cuts over button-down shirts. Betty and Grizzly were in the front row, with Diego sitting between them, the boy who had become like a son to them, like a brother to Lily. Agent Chen was there, Rachel Torres, even some of the FBI agents who had helped bring down Marcia's network. They'd all come to witness this moment. Judge Sullivan entered, and everyone rose. "Please be seated." She looked at the papers in front of her, then at Marcus and Lily. A small smile crossed her face. "I've presided over many adoption hearings in my career. This is the first one where I've had 47 motorcycle club members as witnesses." Quiet laughter rippled through the room. "Mr. Cole, in the past 6 months you have completed every requirement set before you. Home study, parenting classes, background checks. You've cooperated fully with Child Protective Services and exceeded every expectation. The reports I've received describe you as a devoted, attentive, loving father." Marcus said nothing. He just held Lily's hand tighter. "Lily." Sullivan looked at the girl. "We've talked before, you and I. Do you remember what I asked you? You asked if I was sure, if I really wanted Marcus to be my forever daddy. And what did you say? I said he already was. The paper just makes other people believe it." Sullivan's eyes glistened. "Well, I think we've made everyone wait long enough." She picked up her pen. "It is the judgment of this court that the petition for adoption is hereby granted. From this moment forward, Lily is the legal daughter of Marcus Cole, with all the rights and privileges that entails." The gavel came down. The room erupted. Lily screamed and threw her arms around Marcus's neck. He lifted her off her feet, holding her tight, feeling tears he didn't try to hide, streaming down his face. "I'm your daughter now. I'm really your daughter. You always were, sweetheart. You always were." Around them, brothers were cheering, clapping, some of them wiping their eyes, and pretending it was allergies. Diego ran forward and crashed into them, making it a 3-person hug. Betty was crying openly. Grizzly had his arm around her, his own eyes suspiciously wet. Marcus looked around at all of them. These people who had become his family long before Lily arrived. These men who had ridden into battle to save children they'd never met. This community that had rallied around a homeless girl and refused to let the world break her. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough. "All of you. Thank you." Demon stepped forward. "You kidding? This is what we do, brother. We take care of our own." He crouched down to Lily's level. "And you, little princess, you're officially one of us now. That means you've got 47 uncles who will do anything for you. You understand?" Lily nodded solemnly. "Anything, anything. Will you teach me to ride a motorcycle?" The room burst into laughter. Marcus groaned. "She's 6, Demon. Don't give her ideas." "Hey, never too early to start. Right, princess?" Lily grinned. "Right?" They filed out of the courtroom into the bright afternoon sun. Someone had organized a celebration at the clubhouse, food, music, everything a party needed. Marcus carried Lily on his shoulders as they walked to the parking lot, surrounded by brothers and friends, and the closest thing to family he'd ever known. "Marcus." He looked up. Lily was gazing down at him, her face serious. "Yeah, sweetheart. I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I prayed for you. Before I came to the clubhouse. I was hiding behind the dumpster and I was so scared and I prayed. I asked God to send me a daddy. Someone who would love me and protect me and never leave." Her voice wobbled. "And then I found you." Marcus had to stop walking, had to take a breath, had to process what this child was telling him. "You think God sent me?" "I know he did. Because you're exactly what I asked for. Big and strong and a little bit scary to other people, but not to me. To me, you're safe. You're home." He reached up and took her hand. "Lily, I don't know much about God or prayers or any of that. But I know this, if he did send you to me, then he gave me the greatest gift I've ever received. Because you saved me too. You know that I was alone and empty and didn't even know it. You filled me up. We saved each other. Yeah, we saved each other. She leaned down and kissed the top of his head. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Princess. Forever. The party at the clubhouse lasted until well after dark. Music played. Stories were told. Brothers who had been part of the warehouse raid shared their memories with newcomers, the legend growing with each telling. Lily danced with Diego, the two of them spinning around the floor while the adults watched and laughed. They'd both come so far. Two broken children who had found family in the most unlikely place. Diego was thriving with Grizzly and Betty. He'd started school-made friends, begun the long process of learning to be a kid instead of a survivor. His testimony had been crucial in the trials that followed the raid. 23 convictions so far, with more to come. And Senator Hayes. His career was over. Federal charges for conspiracy, money laundering, obstruction of justice. He'd tried to cut a deal, tried to trade information for leniency, but there was no deal good enough for a man who had helped traffic children. He was looking at 30 years minimum. Victor Marsh would never see freedom again. The evidence Pixel had uncovered, combined with the testimonies of the rescued children, had resulted in multiple life sentences. The judge had called him a predator of the worst kind, a monster who used systems meant to protect children as tools to destroy them. Gerald Morrison Lilly's former foster father had pleaded guilty to avoid trial. He'd been sentenced to 40 years. In prison, word had spread about what he'd done. He'd been attacked twice in the first month. Nobody was trying very hard to protect him. The system itself was changing. New oversight protocols, better vetting for foster parents, a task force specifically dedicated to protecting vulnerable children. The Cedar Falls case had become a catalyst for reform across the state. But tonight wasn't about any of that. Tonight was about celebration, about family, about joy. Marcus sat in a corner booth watching Lily dance, a beer in his hand, and a feeling in his chest he was only beginning to recognize as peace. Room for one more. He looked up. Agent Chen stood there, 2 beers in her hands. Sure. She slid into the booth across from him. Hell of a party. Hell of a year. That too. She took a sip of her beer. I wanted to tell you something. Officially. What's that? The FBI is closing its investigation into the Hells Angels' involvement in the warehouse raid. No charges will be filed. In fact, she smiled slightly. There's talk of commendations. The director himself called what you did an extraordinary act of citizen bravery. Marcus laughed. The FBI giving commendations to a motorcycle club. That's a first. Times change. People change. She nodded toward Lily. She changed you. She did. For what it's worth, I've seen a lot of cases. A lot of kids who got chewed up by the system and spit out broken. What you did, not just the rescue, but everything after that's rare. That's special. I just did what anyone would do. No, you did what very few people actually do. You saw a child in need and you didn't look away. You didn't make excuses. You didn't wait for someone else to handle it. You stepped up. Chen's voice softened. That little girl is alive and thriving because of you. Don't minimize that. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, She asked me to be her father. First time we met. She was dirty and scared and barely able to speak, and she asked a complete stranger to be her father. He shook his head. How could I say no to that? Most people would have. Most people did her whole life. then most people are idiots. Chen laughed. Can't argue with that. She raised her beer. To Lily, and to the family she found. To Lily. They clinked bottles. The party wound down around midnight. Brothers headed home or crashed in the back rooms. Betty took Diego, who had fallen asleep on a pile of jackets. Grizzly clapped Marcus on the shoulder and said, "Proud of you, brother. Prouder than I've ever been." Finally, it was just Marcus and Lily walking to his truck in the quiet parking lot. She was half asleep, her head on his shoulder. Hope, the sock doll, clutched in her hand, as always. "Did you have fun tonight?" he asked. "Best night ever." Her voice was drowsy. Everyone was so happy. They were happy for you. For us. Yeah, for us. He buckled her into the truck and drove home through empty streets. Cedar Falls was quiet at this hour. Peaceful. A town that had faced its darkness and come out stronger. At the cabin, he carried Lily to her room. It wasn't the spare room anymore. It was her room decorated with drawings she'd made, photos of her new family, the small treasures she'd collected over the past 6 months. He tucked her in, pulled the covers up to her chin. "Daddy, yeah. Will you tell me a story? It's late, sweetheart. You should sleep. Please, just a short one." He smiled. "Okay, just a short one." He sat on the edge of her bed, thinking. Then he began. Once upon a time, there was a man who thought he didn't need anyone. He lived alone, worked alone, didn't let anyone get close. He thought that was strength. He thought that was freedom. Was he lonely? He didn't know he was. That's the thing about loneliness. Sometimes you're so used to it, you don't even recognize it anymore. What happened to him? One day, a little girl showed up at his door. She was scared and hungry and had nowhere else to go. She asked him for something he didn't think he could give. What did she ask for? A family, a home, someone to love her. Lily smiled sleepily. And did he? He tried to say no. He tried to tell himself he wasn't the right person, that she deserved better. But she looked at him with these big, brave eyes, and she said, "Please." And something inside him broke. The good kind of breaking. Yeah, Lily, the good kind. The kind where all the walls you've built come crashing down, and you realize they were keeping out the things you needed most. What happened next? He said yes. And then he had to fight. He had to fight bad people who wanted to hurt her. He had to fight a system that had failed her. He had to fight his own fears and doubts, and all the reasons he thought he wasn't good enough. Did he win? He won, because he had help, because good people stood with him, because sometimes when you fight for the right reasons, the universe fights alongside you. And then he took her home, made her breakfast every morning, taught her to ride a bicycle, helped her with homework, held her when she had nightmares, showed up for every school play, every soccer game, every moment that mattered. Did he still feel lonely? Never again, because she filled up all the empty spaces. She taught him that love wasn't weakness. It was the strongest thing in the world. She taught him that family isn't about blood, it's about choice. She taught him that the things worth having are the things worth fighting for. Lily's eyes were closing. I like that story. It's a true story. I know. She reached out and took his hand. I'm glad you said yes. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. He sat with her until her breathing slowed, until her grip on his hand loosened, until she was fully asleep. Then he leaned down and kissed her forehead. Good night, princess. He stood and walked to the door, paused. looked back at her one more time. 6 months ago, he'd been a man with nothing. No family, no purpose, no reason to believe tomorrow would be any different from yesterday. Now, he had everything. He closed the door softly and walked to his own room. But he didn't sleep right away. He sat by the window looking out at the darkness, thinking about all the roads that had led him here. The club, the years of running from commitment, the anger that had nearly consumed him, the emptiness he'd tried to fill with adrenaline and brotherhood and anything that kept him from feeling too much. And then Lily, a tiny, terrified girl who had walked into his life and refused to leave. She hadn't just asked him to be her father. She'd shown him who he was capable of becoming. She'd looked at him, this scarred, hardened, broken man, and seen something worth loving. That was her gift. That was her miracle. Not the rescue. Not the courtroom victory. Not even the adoption. The miracle was that she'd believed in him, and in believing she'd made him believe in himself. The next morning, Marcus woke to the smell of burning toast. He jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen. Lily stood on a chair waving a dish towel at the smoking toaster. "I was trying to make you breakfast." He grabbed the towel from her and got the situation under control. Then he looked at her flour on her face, determination in her eyes, a complete disaster surrounding her, and he burst out laughing. "What's so funny? Nothing, everything." He lifted her off the chair and spun her around. "You're a disaster, you know that. I wanted to surprise you. You definitely did. Are you mad? Not even a little bit." He set her down and surveyed the damage. "Tell you what, we'll make breakfast together. I'll teach you how to use the toaster without burning the house down. Can I crack the eggs? You can crack the eggs. Can I flip the pancakes? Let's start with the eggs." They made breakfast together side by side at the counter. Marcus showed her how to measure ingredients, how to stir without making a mess, how to know when the pan was hot enough. She listened intently, asking questions, wanting to learn everything. This was fatherhood, not the dramatic rescues or the courtroom battles. This, the everyday moments, the small lessons, the quiet mornings that built into a lifetime. After breakfast, they sat on the porch. The sun was bright, the air was warm, and the world felt full of possibility. "Daddy, yeah, what are we going to do today?" Marcus thought about it. They could go to the clubhouse, visit Diego at Grizzly's place, work on the motorcycle he was restoring in the garage. But then he looked at Lily, her eager face, her restless energy, her hunger for every new experience, and he made a decision. "I'm going to teach you to ride a bike." Her eyes went wide. "Really, today? Today? But I don't have a bike. You do now." He stood up. "Come on, it's in the garage." He'd bought it 3 weeks ago, hidden it behind the old tarps, waiting for the right moment. A pink bicycle with training wheels and a basket on the front, exactly like the one he'd seen her staring at in the store window. When she saw it, she stopped breathing. That's for me. That's for you." "But it's so pretty." "Yeah, well, you're pretty so it matches." She ran to the bike, touched the handlebars, reverently rang the little bell. Then she turned and threw herself at him, hugging him so hard he nearly fell over. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "You haven't even ridden it yet." "I don't care. It's the best present ever. The best, best, best." They spent the whole morning in the driveway. Marcus running alongside her, holding the seat, teaching her to balance. She fell 3 times, got up 4. By noon, she was riding in wobbly circles, screaming with joy. "Look at me. Look, Daddy, I'm doing it. I see you keep going. You've got it." And she did. She rode that bike up and down the driveway until her legs gave out. Then she collapsed on the grass, grinning from ear to ear. "That was amazing. You're a natural. Can we do it again tomorrow?" "We can do it every day forever, every day forever." She reached up and took his hand. "This is what having a family feels like, isn't it?" "Yeah, Lily. This is exactly what it feels like." They lay there on the grass, hand in hand, watching clouds drift across the sky. Two people who had found each other against all odds. Two people who had chosen to be family. "Daddy, yeah, I'm glad I was brave enough to ask." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Years later, people would ask Marcus about that day at the clubhouse. About the moment a 6-year-old girl walked up to him and asked if he could be her father. He would tell them about the fear in her eyes and the courage in her voice. He would tell them about the choice he made, the battle he fought, the family he found. But what he would never be able to fully explain was the transformation. How a single question from a desperate child had cracked open his heart and remade him completely. How saying yes to one little girl had said yes to a whole new life. Lily grew up strong and fearless, surrounded by uncles in leather who would do anything for her. She became an advocate for foster children, a voice for the voiceless, a living testament to what happens when someone chooses to fight for a child no one else wanted. And Marcus. The man who had lived alone, worked alone, needed no one. He became a father, a grandfather, a man whose legacy wasn't built on fear or power, but on love. Because that's what happens when you don't look away, when you don't wait for someone else. When a child asks for your help, and you say yes. One moment of courage, one choice to care, one family built from the ashes of broken pasts. That's the story of Marcus Cole and his daughter, Lily. A story about finding home in unexpected places. A story about the redemptive power of love. A story about 250 Hell's Angels who rode into battle for a child they'd never met, and a little girl who taught them all what it really means to be brave. Some people are born into families. Others have to find them. And sometimes the families we find are stronger than anything blood could create. Because family isn't about where you came from. It's about who shows up when you need them most.